He killed an old woman with an axe, but the real murder happened after. Because what he tried to kill was his own conscience. And that never dies. St. Petersburg, a city built on swamps, as if the earth itself rejected what was constructed there. Narrow streets, the smell of decay, too many people living too close together. And yet, everyone is completely alone. This is where he lives. Rodion Raskolnikov, 23 years old, former student. Too proud to ask for help. Too poor to continue studying. He lives in a room so small that Dostoevsky describes it as a coffin. And perhaps it already was. Because long before the crime, he was already burying himself. There is a kind of isolation more dangerous than physical solitude. Mental isolation. When a man spends too long inside his own mind, something strange begins to happen. His thoughts start sounding smarter than reality itself. Raskolnikov built a theory, a brutal division of humanity. On one side, the ordinary. On the other, the extraordinary. The ordinary obey. They live. They die. They are forgotten. But the extraordinary, Napoleon, Caesar, conquerors, reformers, they are allowed to step beyond morality if the purpose is great enough, if it changes the world. And here is the dangerous part. The theory makes sense on paper, cold, logical, mathematical. If one worthless life could create 100 better ones, wouldn't it be rational to sacrifice it? The old moneylender, Alyona Ivanovna, seemed perfect, greedy, cruel, a parasite living off the poor. Removing her would be justice, or so the theory said. But there is a difference between believing you are Napoleon and standing in a stairwell. With an axe in your hands, he climbs the stairs. One step, then another. Every step, a chance to turn back. But he doesn't. His heart isn't racing. It's heavy. The door opens. The axe falls. Once, then again. Silence. But the world rarely respects perfect plans. Lizaveta enters the apartment. She wasn't in the theory. She wasn't in the philosophical argument. She was simply there. The axe falls again. And in that instant, something invisible shatters. He runs. He hides the stolen objects without even counting them. No celebration, no triumph, no power. And that is where the real mistake begins. He thought the danger would be the police. It wasn't. The danger was himself. He expected to feel superior, above other men. Instead, he feels fever. The days blur together, trembling, delirium, nightmares. In one dream, he tries to kill the old woman again, but she laughs and refuses to die. Slowly, something unbearable becomes clear. He didn't kill because he was extraordinary. He killed to prove that he was. And he failed. Did I kill the old woman? No. I killed myself. I destroyed myself forever in that moment. The axe didn't just strike two women. It shattered the image he had of himself. What destroys him is not moral remorse. It is humiliation. His theory placed him above humanity. Reality drags him violently back into it because he feels guilt. And guilt is something ordinary men feel. Now he is trapped with something worse than the police, his own conscience. If this resonates with you, subscribe to Hollow Minds. Every week, another mind unraveled. Then comes Porfiry Petrovich, the detective. And he knows. No evidence, no witnesses, but he knows. Instead of accusing, he watches. He smiles. He asks harmless questions. Every conversation becomes an invisible duel. And Raskolnikov always leaves, more unstable than he arrived. Because Porfiry understands something essential. Men like him are not caught with handcuffs. They are caught by their own logic. One day, the detective stops playing games. He looks at him and says something almost gentle. "You need air. Air. Air." 3 simple words, but they fall like a verdict. Because Raskolnikov is suffocating, inside his theory, inside his arrogance, inside his own mind. The crime was quick. The punishment is slow and entirely internal. And then, Sonia Marmeladova, his opposite in every way. If Raskolnikov tried to rise above humanity through intellect, Sonia was pushed beneath it through suffering. She sold her body to feed her younger siblings. Humiliation lives in her flesh. But faith lives in her soul. When he finally confesses, not to the police, not to his family, but to her, something profound happens. Because only someone who knows shame without masks can hear a confession without pretending to judge. She doesn't excuse him. She doesn't rationalize. She weeps. And then she says what he never wanted to hear. "Go now. Stand at the crossroads. Bow down. Kiss the earth you have defiled. And say to the world, I have killed." Not to humiliate him, but to bring him back to humanity. To pull him out of the diseased isolation of his own mind. And here is the most disturbing detail. She loves him, not despite the crime, but knowing it completely. And being loved when you know what you have done is a strange form of torture. Because love, in that moment, is not comfort. It is weight. It is the mirror. He cannot escape. Dostoevsky did not write a detective story. Crime and punishment is not about discovering the killer. We know from the beginning. The real question is far more uncomfortable. What happens when a man believes he stands beyond good and evil and discovers, too late, that he does not? Siberia comes later. The official prison comes later. The real punishment begins that first night, when he lies down and realizes the silence is too loud, when he tries to remember the theory and can only remember the sound. Dostoevsky believed in redemption, and somewhere at the end of the story, a small crack appears inside Raskolnikov. Not peace, not salvation, just the first fracture in the wall of pride. The beginning of the pain that heals. But before redemption comes a darker truth. During this long journey between crime and confession, Dostoevsky reveals something no self-help book will ever tell you. The worst prison has no bars. The worst judge wears no robe. And the conscience, the one he tried to murder along with the old woman, always survives. And sooner or later, it always collects. Subscribe to Hollow Minds. We're just getting started.